Play hard and love big radio podcast. Inspiration on your station with the show broadcast. You don't want to miss it. You gotta listen. Good vibes and stories for you to go the distance. Bringing inspiration, stories that shine. Helping you connect heart and mind align. Live your best life, lift up and soar. Fueled by kumquat energy, we give you more. Play hard and love big.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mindful Dude Show with Nick Clark and Dan Nevins, brought to you by Play Hard and Love Big Radio. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and Stand-Up Paddleboard Company based out of Folsom, California. At Play Hard and Love Big Radio, we're dedicated to bringing you the inspirational people and their stories to help you connect to your center so you can go out and live your most passionate and amazing life. Awesome news for Play Hard and Love Big Radio is we have our first premier podcast sponsor, Kumquat Energy and Hydration Drinks. They are delicious, they are nutritious, and they'll get you fired up and fueled up for your day. Grab Kumquat Energy or hydration products at Spotted Dog Yoga in Folsom, CA, or look them up online and find a retailer that's close to you. What's up, Dan Nevins? Welcome to the Mindful Dude Show.
Heck yeah, great to be here, brother, as always.
I think we're going to probably have to get you some Kumquat Energy and hydration out there in Florida, bro.
I mean, I'm down. I mean, kumquats are delicious. Energy is vital, so bring it on.
Bring it on, dude. Do you have kumquats that you grow there? Probably. Florida, you got a lot of citrus, don't you?
We could, but we do not. I don't. I have in my yard, I have sumo citrus, I have Meyer lemon, I have
wow,
papaya and guava.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'll be there tomorrow. I want to eat some guava.
Mm-hmm.
And drink like a warm lemon water while sitting by your pool one morning.
Word, let's do it.
Let's do it.
And
all
then
right,
we'll
man.
golf course later.
Yeah, we'll do the golf course. We'll get hit 18 holes.
Amen.
Hey, man, what's going on in your life?
I was just in DC. As I was in DC, I had the opportunity to lobby in a way, like press our congressmen and senators to pass the Major Richard Starr Act, which is it's a bill that's in Congress. It was introduced in the 117th Congress, so in 2021, and then now again in the 119th Congress, 2025. And what it is, it's a bill designed to fix a problem that's been in the military medical system, for a long time. So the gist of it is that someone like me, and this is the good thing I kind of want to point out, I don't really need this bill or the benefits that would come from this bill. Like, I'm fine from my sort of VA disability standpoint that I get for being a combat wounded vet. But there are some people that aren't. And so what happens in my case, I served 15 years. And so the retirement amount of years in the military is 20 years. And for me, I served 15 of 20. And when I got blown up and catastrophically wounded, I was no longer able to serve. And so I was forced to medically retire. There are some people that have done that with like 18 years in. So they're like right on that precipice of making the 20. And so what happens, so you're forced to retire. Obviously, you don't want to go through that. And then you don't get your retirement at all. You get none of your military retirement.
When you're forced to retire, you don't get any of your military retirement.
Because it's a 1-for-1. So then if you're wounded, right, then you go over to the VA side and get your disability compensation. Okay. And so what the government does is say like, oh, well, you're getting disability, so you don't need your retirement, right? Even though they're two totally separate and distinct things. And so they've done it before. It's called concurrent receipt, where you're like, if I made 20 years, if I hit 20, I can get all my retirement money. And then I can go to the VA and say, hey, these are the wounds that I received, and then get my full VA disability. I can get both. So there's this magical number of 20 years that if you hit it, you sort of get what is promised to all of us. But if you don't hit it for no fault of your own, you don't get it. And so this bill would fix that and sort of not make it retroactive or anything, but it would fix it for there's only like little over 50,000 people that would qualify for this particular bill, but these 50,000 plus people, many of them would greatly benefit. It would be life-changing. I mean, it might be between $1,000 or $2,000 a month that they would sort of get back from their retirement, but they should have been entitled the whole time to. But that money is life changing for a lot of people.
So you're saying when you say that this bill would fix it, you mean that if somebody who was injured in the line of duty,
right,
and forced into retirement, they would still
get
be able
their
to
retirement.
access their retirement. What's the name of the bill again?
The Major Richard Starr Act.
Who is Richard Starr? What's his history
Major
behind
Richard
him?
Starr was someone who was passionate about getting this fixed. He actually passed away from cancer from his time in the military, toxic exposure, sort of something that's also near and dear to my heart. And so him and his wife sort of, spearheaded this and got a lot of traction, and they introduced a bill back in 2021. And then he passed away a couple years later. And so now the bill's being reintroduced. And so since he is not here to fight, so other people have to fight for him. So I went with 8 other guys in a similar situation. And like I said, we're all doing okay, but it's like we're fighting for the people who aren't okay enough to get to DC and have a voice and sort of stand on the desks of these congressmen and senators and be like, hey, what's the deal? And this is what's crazy, Nick, because it's widely supported. So there's like 277 congressmen that are like full in on it, vast majority, and 72 senators, again, vast majority. The bill's basically veto proof, meaning like there's no way if this bill passes that the president won't sign it into law. The challenge is they won't vote for it. They won't bring it to vote because it's going to cost money. And it's crazy. So the reality of it is, and I don't want to get too in the weeds of the bill because I want to talk about something that happened yesterday. The deal is it'll cost about $8 billion over 10 years. For 10 years of enacting this bill, it'll cost about $8 billion. Sounds like a massive number, but to put that in perspective, so that's for 10 years. So it's less than $1 billion. So it's like $800 million a year, which still sounds like a big number, but that is less than 1/10 of 1% of this year's defense budget. So 1 year's defense budget, less than 1/10 of 1%, and that's for 10 years, right? So there's, the thing is, and it feels to them it's like a new benefit. Like, no, this isn't a new benefit. This has existed the time. They call it the wounded veterans tax because it's like, oh, you got wounded. Sorry, you don't get this thing that you've been earning for the last 15, 18, 19 years. So sorry. Oh, because you got blown up, here's a little bit of disability pay. Maybe that'll help. And I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful those things exist. However, if you're talking about complete fairness and transparency, and I mean, the military is having a hard time meeting recruiting goals. And one of the reasons are people aren't being taken care of the way that they thought they were promised to be taken care of. So anyway, while I was in DC, I did NBC was there, and they did a spot that ran on national news, and then I got a call from CNN. They wanted me to be on, CNN, massive viewership, whatever. So last night I was on CNN.
Well, you were on a live program of CNN.
I was on a live program on CNN. Yeah, it's called The Lead with Jake Tapper. And this is what I want to say. So I'm a professional speaker, and I was so displeased with that interview because I stammered, and there was a lot of reasons. I can name a lot of excuses of, oh, well, it was live. I did not know, and I did not know any of the questions they were going to ask. And in the way this platform is I couldn't even see him while I was talking to him. So my computer was open, sort of like we are now, and I was mic'd up and camera on. So I had my whole TV studio set up in my house, and
they can see you. You can't see him.
I couldn't see him at all. So there's all those, like, there was things in the way of legitimate, heartfelt, conversational, like answering questions.
Sure.
But like, after the interview, I was so mad. I was so mad because I was like, why? Like, I'm a pro. Like, how did I fail? And people would say, "Oh no, it was great." And like my wife said it was great. Other people, "Oh, great job." And
Sure.
I'm like, "Yeah, the way that you go, great job when someone strikes out." Right? And you're like, "Great job, buddy." Like that's I feel like where the great job was coming from.
At least you showed up. At least you came to
I
the
did. I did show
plate,
up.
Dan. Yeah, you showed up. Good
So,
job, Dan. Here's a pat on the butt. But why did you feel like that it didn't go good?
well,
What
I
was your internal critic saying?
so well, my internal critic said, like, "What the F?" That was my internal critic. But then I had to get into like, okay, while I know I can do a great job, but I didn't. So why?
Hmm.
And I think it was like I just didn't allow, like I was so focused on all the details, so over prepared. Like, what can he ask me? How am I going to spin it back to this? And what are the things I can't say because it's going to sound bad? Or if he talks about the money, because $8 billion sounds huge, even though in reality it's really not. Um, which that's weird to say that $8 billion is not a lot of money, but comparatively speaking, it's not.
Yeah.
And so I got so in the weeds on just making sure I knew every single thing that my brain was moving so fast, accessing all this information while I was responding that get the talk out. Like I was stammering and not like in answering a different question in the middle of another question. And it reminded me that I already have everything I need right now. I
Hmm.
know the Major Richard Starr Act inside and out. I know the whys. I know, but I studied so hard because this is like, it's going to be on CNN. And that's not necessarily the new, I don't watch TV really at all. But if I was, it's not necessarily the news channel that I'd put on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think all that played into over preparing, overthinking, and like keeping myself from just being myself and at ease and calm and just like genuinely answering the question. Now, if I would have been able to see Jake's face as he's talking to me, perhaps it would have got me out of that sort of over prepare, but like and I could layer in all those excuses, right? Of like, oh well, why it didn't go well, why I didn't live up to my expectations or what I'd like to do or be. Um, but at the end of the day, those are just excuses.
Hmm.
And yeah, I learned a little bit just to like let go and just pour out from the person that I am. And that is good enough. Did not need to over prepare. And I learned that when I don't trust myself just to be myself, no matter the stakes or no matter the stage or the opportunity or whatever, even what you want to call it, is like I don't have to sweat it. Like I'm prepared enough, I'm good enough to do it right now.
Good for you, man. How do you feel? How do you feel now after you shared that with me about the experience?
I mean, I feel a little bit like I'm going to beat myself up about it for a while, but
Yeah.
only because, but measuredly, right? Only
Mm-hmm.
to reinforce this. Okay, so I can be better, and I can be better by like not over preparing. And it's so hard to watch yourself. Like I had to watch myself answer these questions. I watched it after it was live, and I was like, oh god, like it was terrible. Like one, I was like, is that what my voice sounds like? And I've heard my voice a lot of times, but the audio, like the way they had tempered the audio, it was a little tinny too, like in the thing. And I was like, well, that's their fault. Like
Totally.
right. Anyway, like there's things that sort of like I want to ingrain lessons learned, and I have to sort of be in that place of criticism of self critique for a while to make sure that's good. But then I will for sure move on. But
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it.
Well, hey man, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate your honesty in that, and I relate in a lot of different ways. You like this podcast? This year is the first year that I decided I wanted to do a lot of in-person podcasts.
Mm.
And so me being who I am, I decided I'm just going to throw myself in 100% and just go for it, which ultimately leads to a place where there's mishaps that occur. which is fine with, now, like you're saying, like shit happens and you learn from it and you grow from it and you critique yourself. But I critique myself because I know I can be better. But that first weekend, I decided I'm going to drive back a day early to Folsom. Usually I fly back. I drive back a day early because I have an interview with the starting goalkeeper for the Sacramento Republic, which is the big team there in SAC, the pro team. I was a goalkeeper. I've always wanted to interview this dude. Super excited about it. I get there early. I set up an interview before that. Everything goes good with the interview before that. He gets there. I get in the conversation with him. I'm not paying attention to my checklist. Sit down. I think everything's good. I have him test the microphone in his ear. Everything sounds good. I'm like, money, I got this, right? No problem.
Right.
And I interview him. And then a couple hours later, I'm like, I want to sit down and listen to that a little bit. That was a great interview. And I go to listen to it. And I hadn't selected the proper input into Riverside FM for the microphones.
Oh.
And so the only microphones that it recorded were the iMac microphones, which were like off to the side and kind of shitty. And then and then my third camera recorded the audio, but it was like there's all this fan noise, and I was like, "Fuck!"
Oh yeah.
I was so pissed off. I couldn't believe. I'm like, "What do I do? Like, what do I do? Do I try and fix this and not tell him, or do I?" Like, I screwed up royally. Like, this is what was my chance, like, dang, like I'm
this guy I really wanted to talk to.
Yeah, this is going to change our business forever, like, what the heck? Right. And I got kind of in a heady space. And so I started sharing it with some of my teachers there that I really get along with, some great leaders in the studio. And, of course they gave me the, like, it's okay. He's not going to care. Kind of like, hey, it's okay, Dan, pat yourself on the back. You made it up there.
Oh, you did a good job.
Yeah, you struck out, but you showed up, right? I'm like, great. So anyway, I decided to just let him know, like, hey, let's see if we can try and re-record this at some point, because I messed up on the microphone. So I told him, and he was cool. But I just couldn't get it out of my head. And so ultimately, like, for the last month, I've been trying to work on improving the audio. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I'm going to improve the audio the very best that I can. Then I'm going to share it with you. And if you're cool with me publishing it, I'm going to publish it because I don't want to waste it. But that's, kind of where I'm at. But I felt crappy like that. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I got a checklist. I'm all set. I'm all dialed in. This isn't going to happen again. And I scheduled this another podcast with this woman here in Eagle, who is my son's PE teacher. She's awesome, dude. She was on the Olympic field hockey team. She had like 141 caps. Her name is Tiffany Snow Huseman.
Okay.
I mean, that's a freaking name right there, right? Tiffany Snow Huseman, dude. Right. And she's just a stud. She shows up, she brings her field hockey sticks in, and she brings her jerseys and like all the balls, and we'd have this amazing conversation, right? Awesome conversation, right? Well, right before the interview, I realized that I don't have my third camera, so I just decided to call an audible, which is like the dumbest damn thing I could possibly do. And I use my phone as the third camera. Well, I forgot to mute my phone. And so I'm like, oh, that was a great interview. It was awesome. I get home, I go to listen to it, and there's this bloody echo that's been recorded in the back, like a audio loop. And I was just like, I remember I'm in the kitchen, and I just like put my forehead on the counter. I was like, damn it, I suck. What is wrong with me? Wow. Like just like the inner critic came up high, But anyway, long story short, I decided I'm going to work on that one too and improve it. And that my lessons are similar to yours. Like that I just, I have to be, in order for me to be myself 100%, I have to follow my checklist and make sure that stuff works, but a lot of times what happens for me is that in the moment when I'm having the conversation with the person I'm interviewing beforehand, or I'm like in this like place of just like excitement, I forget things. I like blank out a little bit.
Right.
And I'm not myself completely. And I watch the interviews and I'm like, oh, wasn't completely myself in that interview, and it's like, because there's, something was coming up for me that was like challenging me and keeping me from being myself, so I don't know. I think that ties in a little bit to what you're saying.
It does. And it brings up it reminds me of something that I learned that I still actually struggle with to a degree. There's a part of me that's like the free spirit part of me that just wants to like be malleable and be just fluid and not be so rigid and regimented about things, because that feels like a good way to be,
Yeah.
not necessarily so tied to especially when you get into like Buddhist type philosophies of like, not to be attached, especially to an outcome, right? And that's like, it's good in the way that it's good, but in the world that we live in, where there's accountability and then there are deadlines and there are time constraints and commitments, that usually doesn't work out very well. And so I think what we all want, at least I know for me, what I really want is freedom, like freedom to just be. And what I learned is that when I can structure the important things in my life and have routines, which sounds like the opposite of freedom, right? But when I have routines in place that I've thought through and covers all of the checklist things that you're talking about, that, hey, this is my ducks are in a row like this, then by having that routine, it creates real freedom in the world that we actually live in, because I know that because of my routine in this one area, that I can be free to, now that that's done, now I'm actually free.
Mm.
And so it sounds like such a dichotomy, right? So like a routine and freedom sound like they don't go together, but they go together perfectly, actually. So like yin and yang, like you have to have balance. You can't be like all freedom all the time, because then nothing will happen. Some things might happen, but it'd probably almost be like an accident, like a happy accident. And there are people like that. They're so loose and free that just things just work out for them. And I don't think that's the norm.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because not to put an excuse on it, like you said, but for your interview yesterday, like you were out of your routine, your rhythm.
100%.
You know what? You were not.
Unknown caller.
Hello? Is that me?
No, that was me. Somehow.
Hey, who is that? Is that Jake Tapper?
No,
You want another interview, buddy?
no, exactly. I don't know how that happened. It's because of my Bluetooth is on.
But it's like it's out of your routine. Like and you couldn't really go through the checklist in the way that you probably would have gone through the checklist before. And so sometimes we kind of have to fly by the seat of our pants, but maybe it's a good reminder that of the importance of a routine, even though sometimes we can't control the environment that we're in. I don't know. That also reminded me of when I went to Barron's level 1 in Hawaii the very first time, and there was like 120 people, whatever, in Kalani. Were you around when they did Kalani?
Yeah, in the bubble.
You did Kalani?
I did Kalani in the bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I wonder what year that was that you did that. What do you know?
2013.
Okay. Yeah. That place was pretty cool, but I just remembered this one instance, and for me, it always comes up around Barron in some way, because I feel like I want to just impress him or be good. I want to be good, I want to do the very best that I know I can. When I'm teaching in front of 40 people in my studio, I'm like light and easy, and I'm a hella good teacher. But then I get in front of 120 people, and 80 of them I don't know, and Barron and all the pressure, and then I like pucker up and I can't get my words out, So he asked a simple question anyway. He's like, "What's your name? Where are you from? Why are you here?" We did a little journal on it, whatever. And then everybody got to get up and stand up. Well, dude, I got up the first time, and I shit you not, I could not remember my name. Yeah. I'm like, and I think I was just trying to think of like, what are all the questions? But I just kind of like had this blackout moment. And then finally he gave me a couple chances and I got everything. And then I sat down and he's like, "Does anybody have anything?" I raised my hand. I was like, "Can I go again?" And I went up there again, and I kind of felt it still, like I was going to forget something, but I did better the second time, So it was like, that reminded me a little too, like I'm not this quiet, nervous dude, but I got in a weird environment out of my routine and doing something I didn't know I just like chalked up.
Right. I remember my level 1. So for perspective, like I was a brand new yoga student when I went to level 1. I had done 3 private lessons and then realized, I think we kind of talked about that on a different podcast. Like I had this like revelation moment, and I was like, oh, this stuff, I need this. And so I went to my level 1, only having done one yoga class with other people, and that was its own anomaly.
Yeah.
And so I was like hesitant. I mean, I wanted to be there for sure, but I was hesitant. And I remember the first day. So like there's mostly women. There's a handful of guys. And then there's me, a guy with no freaking legs. Right. And so, people are like, oh shit. Like, they're like, oh, this is going to be interesting, And the very first journal assignment that we had in level 1 was what happened that should not have happened. And that was our journaling overnight after we did our like welcome 4-hour yoga practice. And like, I'm like, and it's 1 trillion degrees in the bubble. Like I lost every bit of sweat possible in my body. And like, and it's all intentional. And it was great too. I liked it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm journaling on what happened that shouldn't have happened. Right. And then so the next day we go in, and like in the beginning, after everybody greets each other, like who wants to share? Right. And everybody's sitting down. I swear, I'm not exaggerating on this. Everybody turned and looked at me like, is this dude going to raise his hand? Because I want to hear. I want to hear what happened that shouldn't have happened from this dude, right?
Wait, did they really turn to look at you, or did you just make that up in your mind?
Not 100% of them like a big theatrical movie moment where everybody looks. But I mean, people were like, like seeing if my hand went up, and I'm sitting on my hands, right? I'm like, that's not happening. I don't know, y'all. You know what I mean? No way.
Quit looking at me.
Right? But then the hands went up, right? And so I learned a lot about myself and life and just this moment. And then so at that moment, like I'm feeling like, well, of course I have the story that's traumatic and people are like interested or whatever, but I am like, great, I'm the most broken guy in the room, and and just that experience kind of added to that, made me feel that way. But then I remember a bunch of hands went up, and I remember this woman, and I don't even know if I talked to her that whole level 1 because of this moment. And so this girl, I just remember she was wearing black leggings and a red tank top, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she was pretty and effervescent and just like bubbly. And I remember she got up, and because she had raised her hand, and she went up to the microphone to sort of talk about her journaling assignment of what happened that shouldn't have happened. And as she is walking up, I literally verbatim said to myself, oh, what, did she spill her latte in her Range Rover on the way to yoga? Verbatim, that's exactly what I said to myself. Like what, look at her. Like what trauma has happened in her life? And then she got up to the mic, Nick, and told just a horrible story about her upbringing. It's so brutal of what happened to her as a kid that I don't even want to talk about it. Like, cause it might trigger someone else. And I felt so bad. I'm like, I just realized that I was judging her from the minute that she stood up. And when she shared that, it was like horrific childhood experience. And I wouldn't trade places with her for like all that's like tenfold. I'm like, I am so glad I didn't have to endure that. But look at her. She's okay. Like she's okay now. And I just realized, I just was like, man, I'm so sorry for judging that girl. I should have told it. I should have said it to her. But I just wasn't brave enough. I didn't have the courage in that moment to do it. If I could rewind time, I would. And if I'm ever in that experience again, that experience has informed me that I should do those things, because it helps when you talk and clear it, even if it's uncomfortable or awkward, which I'm sure it would have been. She's just exposed like the rawest nerve that she's ever experienced. And I'd be like, hey, I'm sorry, I was judging you. But it was a powerful lesson for me. And like, it's all cliche to say never judge a book by its cover, but we do not know what people have experienced that has created them into the way that they are.
Yeah.
And it helped me learn a lot about forgiveness. It helped me learn a lot about try to listen to understand versus listening to speak. Yeah, it was it put it to you this way. That experience is when I arrived at level 1.
Yeah. Exactly. It's interesting when I'm just walking around the neighborhood and whatnot. Sometimes that comes up for me. I'll be like, what's going on with them? There's always something going on with somebody. The more and more that I understand humanity, it's like there's something is happening for everybody. We are not alone in this journey. I'm not living in my own little bubble and nobody else is real. Everybody else has a life and life is brutal.
Mm-hmm. It's not easy. Nobody escapes unscathed.
Yeah. It's brutal and it's beautiful too, though, because it's really awesome to hear you share that in such a powerful way too, because it does remind me like the lessons that can be learned from our own reaction to things if we're willing to slow down and take the moment to just be real with ourselves.
Amen.
Yeah.
And this is all, it's not off topic, it's on topic, but to talk about judgment. Can I tell you what sometimes my wife and I do? And this is terrible. No, I don't recommend doing this, but
yeah, you can tell me.
It's like, because it's not real. It's not real judgment of people. It really is not, but it's fun. So we'll be out somewhere and we'll see like a couple, like maybe it's their first date, or it seems like it, like, you're observing like, oh, they're a married couple. They've been there forever. Or you can tell they're a new couple, or, or they have kids. It's a family, like whatever. Right. And we will like try to like guess their conversation. Like, as they're talking, it's like, oh, he just said he didn't like her hair up. Like, and why does she wear stripes when she knows it's not, stripes don't look that great on her? And then she said, right. And then we'll go, we'll just sort of narrate other people's sort of situations, and it's fun and it's funny for us. And it's also it's not real. It's not real judgment of people. It's almost like they're just, it's like an exercise. It's an exercise in like spontaneity and creativity and improvisation. And it's fun and it's fluid and funny. Now, I would not want that actual couple, whoever it is, to like know that that's what we were doing, because then it would feel like judgment, but it's not. It's just, we are using our surroundings to create fun and a little bit of chaotic energy. And it's really cool, but it would appear as judgment, but it's really not.
It's playful. I mean, it's like it's like a comedian, man. I mean, the really great comedians are ones that are saying things that are true.
Right.
A lot of times about other people.
Yeah, usually. Right. And usually the people closest to them, and a lot of times.
Yeah. Have you ever listened to Robin Williams when he did that thing about golf, by the way?
Yes.
18 fucking holes.
You do it just once? No, 18 times. Right.
I'm going to take this little ball and I'm going to hit it all the way down the freaking driveway. Right. No, 10 yards? No, 300 yards into a little hole.
Right. To a gopher hole.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know why golf is 18 holes?
I don't know why.
Allegedly.
Okay.
It's because there's 18 shots in a bottle of whiskey.
Interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good fact.
Allegedly.
How's your golf game, man?
It's getting better. I've uncovered some things in my swing that are helpful.
That's awesome, dude. How many days a week are you playing?
Oh, like maybe one. It's not more than that. But now my youngest daughter, Catherine, is in competitive golf, the PGA Junior League, and she won her first match. And I'm like, yeah, like so stoked. I mean, it was a group. They did a thing called flag system. So they play 9 holes, and there's 3 girls on each team, and so each girl plays 6 holes. So she was 1 and 3. She played the first 3 holes and the last 3 holes. And then the other girls, fill in, and then everybody plays 6 holes. Oh. And which is great. So they won 2 and 1. So they won 2 out of the 3, 3, 3, and 3. So they won 6 holes out of 9. And so they won. we were super stoked. And it's cool because like my number, as you know, kid, like my number's always been the double deuce, 22.
Okay.
And so it was so cool. I get a little emotional to see her jersey says Nevins 22. And I'm like, it's so cool. And then she threw up the W. Like, of course. Yeah. Right?
The deuce with the W. That's great, man. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're doing good, brother.
Yeah, likewise. We got to get out and play some golf.
Yeah, we do. We got to find some time. It's crazy around here, man, right? We actually this last week when we weren't able to record, Katie was like, I want to do a show with you too. Like, okay, let's do that. We'll do a show. And so we kind of came up with some different ideas for the show. The first idea was couples retreat. And the idea was, hey, we could send the boys across the street for an hour and a half. And we actually get to hang out. This is like our couples retreat, right? So that was one option. But then what we ended up settling on was the Chaos Chronicles. Because it's chaos around here. Certainly last night, well, it was 2 nights ago, Katie gets this box in the mail. I'm like, what is that? You know, and I'm looking at it and she's like, oh, it's a grape cutter. You ever heard of a grape cutter before?
No, but I do cut grapes for kids so they don't choke. Yeah.
So it's like, it's a grape cutter, but it could cut tomatoes or it could cut anything into small pieces, right? So, but it basically looks like an onion chopper. So you like push the top down and the blades come down and cut it. Well, while we're not paying attention, for some reason, Owen opens up the box and he's holding it there. And I didn't even realize it. And then blades. Sawyer goes over. What's up?
You didn't realize it has blades on it?
I didn't know what it was. A grape cutter. I mean, it makes sense now. Now I know what it is. So, but anyway, and then of course, in true fashion, Owen puts it away and like turns around, and then Sawyer goes over and he picks it up, and Sawyer's walking around with it. And I'm like, hey, Sawyer, can you give that to me, please? I don't know what it is. Can you give it to me, please? And like the 4th time, I reach out and I grab it and I pull it from him. Huge mistake because his finger was stuck in there, and I cut the whole, like I cut, but the grape cutter with my help cut the whole middle section out of his finger. Like there's a chunk on the table and he's bleeding everywhere. And I'm like, shit. And so I like throw a paper towel on there, and then we get it all dressed. And the next day he's good, like pretty good. We kept the bandage on there all day. He slept good. He's like, it doesn't hurt, you know? And I'm like, well, don't bang it. Right. Well, then last night we go to unwrap it, and a bit of the gauze that didn't have the Neosporin stuff on it, we used the stuff called Papa, had like slid over and got stuck in the wound. And you know what that feels like.
Yes.
Of anybody, you know that. And so he was screaming last night until like 9 o'clock. And then we put a bunch of stuff on it, wrapped it up. And this morning, crazy, woke up and the gauze had come out of the scab and it was fine, you know. But it's the point is it's like chaos around here in a good way. They're great kids. We get along great. We're around each other more than most people probably are around their kids and their family. Yeah. But when it all comes down to it, man, it's just chaotic and crazy. So anyway, Katie and I, we started that podcast last week, and that was kind of cool. So we got the Chaos Chronicles going here.
I love it.
You have the Mindful Dudes and the Chaos Chronicles.
I mean, they're almost sort of like opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, they totally are. One more funny story. You'll appreciate this. There's this like hard yellow bat. It's a plastic hard bat. It's not it's not wooden. The boys have always had for like the backyard.
Like hollow?
For like T-ball, hollow. Yeah, hollow, but hard, you know. So if like you got whacked in the head with it would hurt pretty damn bad. And Owen's up. We have this 8-foot by 4-foot inflatable pool. That's what we do in Idaho. We don't actually have the real ones like you guys in Florida. And so we fill it up, and Katie and I are sitting out there with the baby by this chair, and we're watching the boys on the trampoline, and Owen's got this bat, and all of a sudden Owen goes, phoom, and I swear Katie and I watched this bat go up in the air, and like with no reaction at all, like to swat it away. It was like it was like unbelievable and surprising. And all of a sudden this bat smacks the chair right next to Katie. It's like, wham. And I'm like, what are you doing, Owen? He's like surprised that he threw it that far, you know?
Right.
So anyway, my point.
Like a little launch. It was like a hiya.
He just freaking threw it at us like he was catapulting a cannonball on us. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, I kind of went on a squirrel moment, but the point being that in any given moment, you never know what the hell's going to happen around here, dude.
That's true. I mean, it's true anywhere, but as you got 3 kids, you got boys, that's going to happen. It's going to be chaos.
It's going to be,
But
it's going to be chaos.
I mean, that's what a great experience to exercise, like some mindfulness. Really, like, hey, how do we limit the chaos and bring this down?
That's right, dude. And all the chaos, you got to be able to find like we said earlier, you got to find the silver linings.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to take some lessons, learn the lessons, and move forward and rebuild in a different way. That's awesome, man. This has been a good little fun conversation. What would you say overall synopsis would be for you in the conversation?
I'd say for as a little synopsis of what we talked about is that there's always an opportunity to come back to present, and it's life happens, whether it's over criticizing yourself or beating yourself about something or learning something from an experience or watching chaos unfold. Like, there's always something as the observer, like that you can pull out. And that's always helped me, is like, okay, as the observer of my life, from a mindfulness perspective, like, what can I learn? And sort of like detach away a little bit and observe my life almost third person, like in the present moment, third person, what's happening, is that I can always distill some sort of lesson or some sort of value through anything, even the worst moments. And, talking about the share at level 1, and sometimes it's even more valuable to learn from other people because they're living a life too, just like we are. As you talked about, like, everyone out there that we see are going through things that we have no idea of what their life is like. And so if that can even give you an opportunity to hold back judgment or to learn, because would you want someone judging your life, right? And that helps me at least move through life with a little more peace and a little more ease, realizing that we're all, there are exceptions. Not everyone in the world is doing their best all the time. Some people are pretty evil, but most of us are doing the best they can with what we have. And sort of coming from that place when I'm in relationship with people or meeting new people helps me take down any walls that would be a barrier to communication or connection.
Amen, dude. Right on. All right, brother. Another awesome, successful episode of Mindful Dudes in the Books, the Mindful Dude Show on Play Hard and Love Big Radio. You can find all of our episodes if you just go to the major podcasting platforms, including YouTube, and you search Play Hard and Love Big Radio, and then look for the shows that are labeled Mindful Dudes with Nick Clark and Dan Nevins. As always, it helps us a ton if you rate the show. Definitely want to give us at least a 4 or a 5.
Shoot for 6 stars.
But if you give us a 1, at least we know you're being real. And share this with your friends and family that you think that could benefit from hearing from us. We have actually a really exciting guest coming up on the next show that we're recording, Amber Miskovich, who is a founder of The Wonder Within, and we've both built a great relationship with her. She's going to be the first mindful babe on the show.
That's it. Mindful babes.
You think we're going to we should maybe ask her permission if we can call her a mindful babe?
We should just spring on her, see what happens.
That's definitely what we're going to do, man. Hey, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate the work that you're doing to improve the lives of the people that you serve with, and those people that deserve what they should get from their efforts in the military. And I appreciate the way that you're always real with us, Dan. It's really fun to connect with you. It's one of my favorite things to do. So thanks for being a part of the Mindful Dudes, brother.
Heck yeah, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Play hard and love big radio podcast. Inspiration on your station with the show broadcast. You don't want to miss it. You got to listen. Good vibes and stories for you to go the distance. Bringing inspiration, stories that shine. Helping you connect heart and mind aligned. Live your best life, lift up and soar. Fueled by kumquat energy, we give you more. Play hard and love